Well, it's personal between me and you, and I'm going to do you some serious harm, you big stiff idiot.
The Untouchable True School Sports Empire proudly presents something the boxing game's been missing. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, happy Sunday to you guys out there. Hope you guys doing good. I wanted to make this video just to talk about this weekend's upcoming matchup. I'm really excited for it, and I've been wanting to make a video about this fight for a long time, and I wish I would have did it earlier, but you know, better late than never. I'll talk more about it during the week. We got Gary Russell Jr., Mr. Gary Russell Jr. coming back. It's been a long layoff for Gary Russell Jr. as per usual. You know, he hasn't fought since February of 2020. So we're talking about he hasn't fought since pre-pandemic. He hasn't fought in the coronavirus era, you know. His last fight was against Tuckstar Nayambayar, and he won that fight, and he hasn't fought since then. And now, not only is he coming off of a layoff, but he's coming up against a guy that some people, depending on who you talk to, may consider to be his most dangerous opponent that he's had in a long time. You know, maybe even going all the way back to when he fought Jojo Diaz. So he's fighting Mark Magsayo, and I gotta tell you this, you know, Mark Magsayo, I still think there's a lot to be learned with Mark Magsayo. He's very raw. He's got to develop the boxing skills a little bit. But one thing we can say about Mark Magsayo, like we can say about a lot of Filipino fighters, is that Mark Magsayo, he has that one-hitter quitter. He has that Filipino power. And it's that classic matchup of boxer versus, or the bull versus the matador. And the reason I think this fight is very interesting is because when you're not active, like Gary Russell Jr. hasn't been active in a long time, as he's used to. And the main thing that suffers when you're not active for a long time, is your timing, you know. And I think when you're fighting a guy like Magsayo, the one thing you're gonna have to have in order is your timing, because you're gonna want to get away from the punches that he throws. I mean, we saw in his last fight, he fought Julio Ceja, who granted, Julio Ceja, tough Mexican, came up in weight, but Julio Ceja was right in his chest the whole fight, and Julio Ceja brought the fight right to Mark Magsayo, and he was winning, and I thought he was going to actually get Mark Magsayo out of there for a second when I was watching it. But Mark Magsayo showed that he had that power, that when he hits you, he could hurt you and hurt you badly. And I'm looking at this fight for Mark Magsayo. If he can win it, you know, this could be the type of fight that launches Mark Magsayo into stardom, into being the next Filipino star. And for Gary Russell Jr., I'm looking at this fight for him as a reminder to people out there to stop disrespecting him, because this happens a lot in boxing. Sometimes fighters, due to whatever politics or whatever the case may be, they don't get the fights. Fans don't understand the boxing business and what goes on behind the scenes and how that could affect the fighter. And the reality is, like, look, I don't know why Gary Russell Jr. doesn't fight more. You don't know why Gary Russell Jr. doesn't fight more, but he does. He hasn't been fighting. So I want him to win, because I don't like when fans get disrespectful towards fighters and they say, oh, well, he should do this, he should do that, he sucks, you know, making fun of a situation, because you truthfully don't know what that man's gone through behind the scenes. And I know one thing I do know about the boxing business, probably a little bit more than most YouTubers, because I have friends that are professionals right now at a high level, and they tell me things and I hear things, and I'm just exposed to a lot of things you guys don't see. It's the boxing business is no joke. So a lot of times people talk about these fighters, about what they can do, what they can't do, what they're not doing, or what they should be doing, and sometimes they miss out on on fighters who are having good careers, beating good fighters. And I think Gary Russell Jr., it's unfortunate he doesn't fight more, and I like to see him fight more, but he has beaten some good fighters. He has beaten Jojo Diaz, he has beaten Nayambayar, you know, all these, you know, different types of fighters. He's beaten Johnny Gonzalez and all these kind of guys. So you know, I like Gary Russell Jr. and I like Mark Magsayo, and may the best man win, you know, may the best man win. I think, I can't remember who it was exactly, but I think someone in Gary Russell Jr.'s family got hurt, or someone had surgery recently, and he was talking about it in an article I saw. I can't remember who it was. So someone who knows who it was, mention it down below, and I'll definitely, you know, I think that could be a factor in the fight. You know, whenever a family member or a key part of your team is not feeling well, that could play a role. So we'll see, man. There's a lot of factors that go into this fight, but it's the 126 division. You know, 126 is heating up. They're coming out the box swinging early in 2022, And Mark Magsayo, I'll tell you this. This is the last thing I'll say about Mark Magsayo. Is I think that Mark Magsayo, I remember when I was in Las Vegas for all those months, all that time, and I was taking Ubers everywhere. And I remember, for some reason, I kept having all these Filipino Uber drivers, and they'd ask me who I am and what I'm doing and why I'm in Vegas, and I'll tell them who I cover boxing, I have a channel and whatnot. And then they would tell, and then they all knew every Filipino Uber driver I had, and it wasn't just one or two, it was like 3 or 4 Uber drivers I had that are Filipino. They all know who Mark Magsayo was. So Mark Magsayo very quietly started to build a good little fan base amongst his people, and that can only bode well for boxing if he continues to win and look impressive and spectacular. But should be a good fight. Gary Russell Jr.'s speed, his having some of the fastest hands in boxing, along with his pedigree. It's very interesting. It's gonna be very interesting to watch some of the fastest hands in boxing going up against one of the hot young top rising punchers in the sport today. So it's not being talked about enough. Thank you for watching another video on True School Sports, the home of boxing. If you made it this far, do me a favor and do yourself a damn favor. Hit that subscribe button and surely you will not be disappointed. True School Sports bringing you the latest and greatest, the untouchable, boxing content, interviews, news videos, breakdowns, live fight reaction extravaganza. We've got a great community of people here. Boxing fans all over the world, from America to the UK to Australia and on and on and on. So join the empire today. Hit that subscribe button. Take care and God bless.